Hi everybody and welcome to this new lesson. In the previous lesson we did the installation of the IBM QRadar, and in this lesson we will learn about the interface and some CLI commands that can we perform on the appliance that will help us to know about the services running and also to generate some logs or replay some logs into QRadar to see them inside the interface. So let's log in. You put the admin as username and the password that you configured during the installation. Then you log in, and as stated in our previous lesson, you will get the temporary license notification. So we have like 35 days. We did the installation on 3rd or 4th of November, so we have 35 days till 7th of November. Okay, so after you log in you will get this interface. This is version 7.5. okay, so you can see here the top menu. You have dashboard, offenses, log activity, network activity, assets, reports, risks, vulnerabilities, admin. If you have any application installed, it will come here. So there is one application called Pulse. We will see this together in this course. There is another application called Use Case Manager. It's very useful, and we will come across it in this course as well. Any applications that you installed on the QRadar, it will come here as another tab. And it's recommended in a production setup that you have a separate device, separate appliance. It's called app host, which you use to install the applications. So this will offload the memory usage and processing of the applications on this app host. Okay, the same menu you can see here. So if you press this 3 lines on the top left, you will see the dashboard. Again, the same thing. As you can see here, there is an assistant app. It's installed by default. You can access it from here, or you can access it from here. Okay. Then you have this notification, this bell. Okay, where you can see the notifications from bottom to up. So for example, here a license is nearing expiration. It will need to be replaced soon. It's referring to the license that will expire in on 7th of November. You can see here it's mentioned as 7th of November. Okay, some threshold crossed, the normal operation restored. So for sure this is a lab environment. I don't have much resources, but in production environment you shouldn't see this too much. Okay, so the first landing page when you log in is a dashboard, and the default dashboard coming is threat and security monitoring. You can see here a couple of widgets. This is called a widget, or an item. They call it an item. So actually this is a dashboard, and these are items inside the dashboard. So each one has specific configuration. You can see here. We'll come across all of this during the course. Next you have the offenses page, where you see the triggered rules. So the rules that you configure in QRadar, when they match, when the condition of these rules match the logs coming or the flows coming, the offense is being generated, and it will come here. Log activity is where you view the logs coming from the different devices in your environment. So for example, firewalls, routers, proxy, IPS, IDS, any security devices in your environment that you configure to send logs to the QRadar, it will come here, and you can view the live logs or depending on the time you select. The network activity will contain the flows. So if you have flows configured for router switches, for if you have a tab device that is tabbing the network traffic and sending the flows to the QRadar, it will come the view of the network activity will display these flows. Assets are the assets in your environment. We will learn about the assets and the server discovery, where you can discover or perform a vulnerability scan on the devices or the assets in your environment. So you can make a proactive profiling of your assets, or a passive profiling from the flows that you receive. Reports, it's very clear. You have here many out-of-the-box reports that you can check, or based on the group you select, you can check the different reports. This is the schedules for these reports, and the next run, for example, this will be run in 4 days, so it's weekly report, and so on. Risks is if you have the it will not come for us because I don't have here. Yes, you can see here, to access risk features you must use a QRadar 700 appliance. So if you remember, during the installation we have a menu where we see all-in-one event processor, event collector. There is one option called the risk manager. So you need to install a risk QRM appliance, the QRadar 700 appliance, in your deployment and add it to the console to be able to access the risk tab. So basically it gives you configuration monitoring, so you can add the configurations of different devices, firewalls in your environment, and monitor that, establish a topology in of your environment. You can run some simulation scenarios. It's useful module. We don't have here in this environment. I can tell you that it's not used very much by the customers. It's not widely used. Vulnerabilities, if you have the KVM, the vulnerability management module, again it will show up here. Fortunately, the temporary license includes already vulnerability manager, so the all-in-one appliance has a scanner inside it that you can use to make scan of your environment. We'll check this together during the course. And finally, the admin tab, where all the admin tasks like system configuration, configuring the log sources, your apps, all of this stuff you can do from the admin, and we will come across it a lot during the course. And many things that you do in terms of configuration requires that you deploy the changes after this configuration or this modification has been done. You have to come here to this page and deploy the changes. And I forgot to say about the offenses. In the offenses tab, you have here the rules. It's very important, where you can check all the out-of-the-box rules in the QRadar. And there is one important convention that I would like to tell you about. We'll come across it during the course, but it's nice time now to tell you about it, which is the difference between rules and the building blocks. So you can see here it's loading a bit slow. Okay, so finally now the rules page has been loaded. So you can see here different rules in the environment configured out of the box. Some of them are enabled, some of them are disabled, so you have to check this column to know exactly the status of the rule. And the rule type is event common. I will come across all of this during the course, inshallah. And the creation date, who configured this system, means that's coming out of the box. The modification date is very useful. And from here you can see here is the rules, and from here you can select different categories for rules. For example, you can select rules related to malware. So you have here like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rules in the group malware. You can select the denial of service and see the rules, and so on. Coming back to the convention of rules and building blocks. So rules are those rules or those conditions that will trigger some action. So when the logs match these conditions, some action can be performed. Building blocks are very similar to rules, that they have a condition. Okay, so it's like a filter. You can say rules or building blocks are filters. The only difference that rules has an action. You can, based on the matching of the logs to this condition or to this filter, I can do an action like increase the severity of the event, or like adding some IP to some watch list, or like executing some script. So this is the main thing about the rule, that you can take an action or make a response after the logs match this condition. While in building blocks you don't have this capability. So the building blocks is just a filter, you can say like that. It's a condition that you can use to define, or to, let's say, to tag some logs. So I can tell these are the logs for DNS, these are the logs for DHCP, and then you can use or reuse these filters or these conditions, these building blocks, inside other rules and call them from other rules. So as the name indicates, building block, it's building block. You configure these conditions to use them as a building blocks in other rules or in other conditions, so you can build complex things based on simple multiple building blocks. So I hope this gives you at least initial idea about the difference, and we will come across all of this during the course, inshallah. Okay, so let's do the second part of this video, is to generate something. We need to see something inside QRadar. So if we go now to the log activity, we can see just like a normal audit logs, or let's say internal system logs. So we can see here health metric, information message, user log out or user login is related to the user itself, like my user to logging into the GUI interface of the QRadar. But we want to see real logs. So I will now switch to the CLI to show you first how to check the services, different services of QRadar, and then we will generate together some logs into the QRadar. So let's now open a PuTTY session to check for the services. So here I opened PuTTY, I have the session already stored, I am loading it. So basically you put the IP address of the appliance and give it any name. So I will open it, log in as root and the password that you configured during the installation. Okay guys, so try to make it a bit bigger in the is this? In the appearance, yeah, here, change, let's make it 12, much bigger. Okay, so what do we have here? So to check the services, so simply you use this command. Okay, so /opt/QRadar upgrade utilities setup upgrades wait for start.shell.sh. so this is one of the utilities that is used during the upgrades. It's very useful. So as soon as you run it, it will display all the processes running and the status for it. So most of the important processes like host, context, ECS, EC, ingress, accumulator are displayed here. I think maybe a couple of processes may be not displayed, like the host context, or so you can use the systemctl status and display this services. Host context is already displayed, but I just want to show you how to display an individual service. You can do it like that. Okay, so how to stop services safely. So instead of status, you put stop. So the first service you need to stop is the host context, then HTTP daemon, then Tomcat, then host services, and then the ECS EC ingress, this one. Okay, and to make the start, you have to follow the reverse order. So from here to here, so you can see here, first we start the ECS ingress, and then we start the host services, and then the Tomcat, and then the HTTP daemon, and then the host context. Okay, so this is very useful commands that you can use for checking the service status and to stop the services safely and start them safely. Okay, so I will put these commands into the course, the comments of this lesson, so you can get a copy and paste of it. Okay, so how to generate offense or to generate any logs inside QRadar. So for example, here we can use this for loop, and which will count for 10 times, or which will iterate 10 times. So each time the loop is executed, this is performed. Okay, so you can say this is the initial of the loop, this is the start of the loop, and this is the end of the loop, and this highlighted part will be executed 10 times from 1 to 10. Okay, so this is how you write it in CLI of the it's actually a normal bash scripting in any Linux platform. So since we have a Red Hat Enterprise Linux, we can run this simple bash script, and inside we just perform do echo, and then inside double quote you put the actual log. So if you have a log from your device, you simply come and put it here between the double quotes, and then you pipeline the output. Pipeline means like you pass the output of this command to another command. So echo is just a simple thing to display it on the screen. So I will show you. If we just take this part echo and put it here, so no need for this one. If we take yeah, let's continue here. So if I just put here okay, echo the log message and press enter, it will just display it here. Okay, so I'll just expand this, you can have better view. Okay, put it here. I think this way is better. So again, echoing this message, just telling the command shell that we need to display it on the screen. That's it. What extra thing we are doing here? We execute a do. Do means it's one reserved word that belongs to the for loop. Okay, so you can say that all this unhighlighted things, sorry, I'll take this as well. So the for I is just a random variable that is taking a value from 1 to 10. Okay, so all of this are part of the for loop, including the do. So what I tell the loop to do in each iteration is this highlighted command, and at the end we put the done, which means that's all. This is the end of the loop. Okay, so since I just took this part, this command, and executed, it's just performed one time. If I want this to be executed multiple times, I need to place this inside the for and the done. Okay, but if you notice, guys, I just took this part. I did not take the this part. Actually, this is netcat. Netcat is a nice tool which in simple words, it's just simulate a connection, like a TCP connection or a UDP connection to some destination. Okay, so here I'm just telling netcat, take this log and make a connection to this destination in very simple word, and this destination is listening on port 514. Okay, there are many options for netcat, like telling this is TCP or UDP. Just make it simple. Okay, so if I took this whole part, okay, and so I'm not just echoing or displaying the message on the screen. No, I'm telling the bash shell, take the output of this command, which is just the log, and pass it to the netcat utility, which will establish a connection to this destination on port 514. For our case, the IP is 1.222. Okay, so doing this will without the do, because if we want to execute it once, we can do it like that. So here, so we should expect to see something now in QRadar log activity. Okay, so we have a flood actually of system internal logs, and it will be hard for us to see one log only because we just send it once. So let's filter out many of these things. To make a filter, simply press the system and edit the current search. Okay, and you go inside, you have type save search. If there is any saved search that you have performed before and saved it, you can load it from here. Since we didn't do any search before, we will come at the bottom, very bottom here. You will see here the parameters that you can add for the filter. So we will write here log source indexed, okay, and we'll come to the indexing in our course, and then you will say does not equal any of, and you start filter out log sources, the internal system log sources. So we are not interested right now in health metrics. We are not interested in the audit logs that are flooding the log activity. What else? The system notifications we are not interested in. So let's apply, after you add them with this plus button, you need to add this filter here and then press search. So you can see here the current filter is log source, is not any of, health metrics, SIEM audit, and system notifications, to just refresh things and make sure the log activities get refreshed. Yes, it has the real-time option already there. If you can see, this is a pause, which means if you press it will pause the real-time view. If you press it again, it will start to display the logs. So to make sure that you apply this filter, just open this drop down menu and select real-time streaming. So as you can see, nothing is coming now. So let's repeat the command again and check here. So now you can see one log is coming, and the log is a non-log event. It's not recognized by QRadar. This is the first time QRadar see this log. Actually, for QRadar to recognize the logs, it has to see it first. It has to have the parser for it. The parser is the piece of code that can read the logs and in a smart way recognize that this is a proxy, for example, Blue Code proxy, this is a Palo Alto firewall, and then translate it into a common event format or some event schema that is understood by the QRadar system. So this is a prerequisite that the parsers should be there. It's called DSM in a QRadar word, and this DSM should be there. And if it's there, it needs the second thing, it needs like receiving around 20-25 logs at least to be able to recognize the log. So in our case, we only send one log. So let's try to send like 20-30. Maybe there is a DSM or a parser that can recognize this. So to do that, here comes the loop part. So I will do it here for, let's say, 30. So we cross the threshold of 25. As I said, I think it requires 20 to 25 logs from the same source to be able to recognize it. So let's now execute it multiple times, like 30 times, and check. Now you can see how many times. So still it's not unknown, it's not recognized. We can repeat it again, and the reason for that is oh, so now it started to recognize. Okay, so you can see here it started to recognize. So this is the user who is detailed. So as I said, these are two conditions. So sometimes, guys, you get confused when you are doing implementation, that why my logs are not recognized, because you have very few logs of the sys source, and you just have one sys log. This is considered a very low EPS source. It's just sending 1-2 logs every now and then, so it's not heavy. So maybe just you need to wait for some time for QRadar to recognize. So as we can see here, after sending like maybe 60, QRadar started to recognize it. So now it's no longer unknown, it's authentication failure, and it's recognized it as a Linux server sending from this source 10.10.5.5, and it made the categorization, and we'll come across all of this, and it recognized the username. Okay, so this is one way of sending log. Another way, actually this is the same way, but this is for another server. This is like a secure message gateway. Okay, so we can see here, we can try this one as well. You can see here again, it's not recognized. How many times? We make 100. So if it let's see if it will be able to recognize it or not. Still sending the logs, it's still going on. This is a secure message gateway. I see here this message coming, unable to determine associated log source. So the QRadar tried many times to recognize using the available or the installed DSMs or parsers on the appliance, but it failed. At the end it failed. And you can access this message, just popped up a few seconds ago. From here, if you go to this bill, you see the same message, and you can see here unable to automatically detect the associated log source. So if we press view all here, okay, we can come here and try to figure out what is the message. So we have here service disruption, unable to detect. The message is unable. The low level category is service disruption, while the event name is unable to determine associated log source IP address. If we come here and open this one, we can go to the payload and check source for the IP address. The IP address here, server name. This is the you can see this is the syslog coming, so this is the host name. So QRadar recognized that this is the identifier of this message. This is the source actually, and it wasn't able to detect the associated log source. So just to be sure, you can come again, repeat it, let's say again, and check, but I think it will give the same result. So again, I think we expect to see another prompt coming telling the same message. Okay, so let's move to the next example. There is another way where you can replay your logs. So for example, I have here two logs, like a connection terminated, event ID, connection event category tear down, username Hatim Mitwalli, source IP, and another one, connection established. So instead of using for loops or this kind of stuff, you can use this Perl script available under /opt/QRadar/bin/logrun.pl. So this is a Perl script. It's available out of the box inside your installation of QRadar. You'll not find it in any documentation. It's just available. It's there and you can use it. So again, still unknown. This we can use this in our practicing, maybe to make the custom parser for this event. Okay, so coming back to this, so instead of as I said, putting this and repeating If you have multiple logs, it will be hard to write something like this. So simply put it in a file and run the log run. So I will just use any editor. I like the VI, and I will name it here. I will name it let's say my log dot text. I press I for editing, inserting. You can see here, after pressing I, it come insert. I will paste the two logs, press escape, and then colon WQ for writing. So now I can make sure my file is ready. Okay, so now I can use the Perl script. Okay, and here the nice thing, you put -h to know exactly the parameters. So -d for the destination, I will put my appliance, -p if you want to change the port, doesn't matter, the file, this is important. So my log.txt, first the same message for 20%, use TCP instead, -v, okay, -v for verbose, use name for object name in syslog header. Okay, so I think, yeah, we can put here -n, like I think maybe these are logs for VPN concentrator or something. We can say VPN, or like this, VPN HQ, and then the -u for the IP as spoofed IP, let's say, and some public IP, let's say 99.33.22.11, anything. Okay, so let's run it. I think we have some error. Need an event rate. Okay, the event rate, how to specify an event rate? Maybe this is a burst, the same message. Okay, like 20. Okay, waiting for 50 seconds, sending 4 messages every 50. Okay, so you need this. This is the event rate. Okay, so let's check here. We can see here the message coming. This is source IP, but still it's unknown event log. Okay, so this is another way of sending the event. So this 20 means the event rate is sending 4 message, waiting 50 milliseconds, and then repeat itself again, and so on. Okay. Okay, it's not recognized again this message. So this is the third third method. Okay, all of these methods we just discussed is about logs. But the nice thing about QRadar, make it distinguishing than other SIEMs, that it has flows, and it has specific view, which is a network activity, where you can see here the flows sent from your environment. Okay, so to replay again, we need to make some steps. It's not just a script and run. We just need to enable some interface, actually the network interface of the appliance itself, to act as a flow source. And then we can utilize the utility which is available in most of the Linux distributions, the TCP replay. If it's not available, we'll see together how to download and install it. And then enable the promiscuous mode for our appliance, and then finally we can run the so first we need to add the network interface as a flow source. So for that we need to by the way, you can open another QRadar access. And okay, so opening a new tab allows us to have different views. So here I will access the admin and I will maintain my network activity to return to it. So coming here, we can see some undeployed changes, just some, because I think we did the access for the first time for the appliance using SSH. So maybe there is some public and private key get generated and this needs to be stored, so just ignore this. Now we will do another configuration change, so when we do it, it will appear here. This is a nice thing about the deployed changes, that you know what exactly you are gonna push on the appliance before you do it. So if we scroll down here, we will see in the flow sources. So here we will add flow source name. So let's say replay, and then I will select the network interface. So my network interface will come here. So if we check here, guys, ifconfig -a, you will see the which one? This one is our physical network interface, 192.168.1.222. so that's why the appliance is able to retrieve the name as ENS33. Okay, so that's it. You just press save. Okay, so this is the target flow collector that coming in the all-in-one appliance. So we'll use it and save, and we will return back to the admin. So now you have, along with the SSH configuration that we found initially, we will see here the connector or the flow collector named replay, and it will use the Qflow, the built-in Qflow for receiving and processing the flows. Okay, so now we are ready to deploy the changes. It tells you, are you want to deploy? This will require service to restart as the configuration is being reloaded. You say continue. For sure, this kind of changes should be done during maintenance window because it could impact your setup. So waiting for deployment to commence, it shouldn't take too much time. It depends on your setup, how big is it, how is the connection between your components. Fortunately, here we have everything on the same appliance, but maybe you have a flow processor in different appliance, in different maybe site. So it depends on the network connectivity as well. We can see now deployment in progress. So till the deployment finish, we can start or move to another step, which is the TCP replay. Let's check if the TCP replay package is there, or we need to download it. So you can see here we are almost there. We see here the status in progress and the host name. So let's I think we're done. Okay, we'll go back to check this later. Let's here try to check the final step is to run the TCP replay. First you need to upload any bcap file from any website. That there are a lot of websites that can provide you with a repository of some test bcap files. I think we can search for that. For example, download bcap files for Wireshark or something like this. Index, see a lot of things. You can sample captures, Wireshark wiki, a lot of things, direct message protocol. This is an example. So you can download any of these captures if you have some scenario or use case in your mind, you can go ahead and get some sample and download it. I have one bcap file already there under the temp directory. This where is it? I think it's called telnet or something. Yeah, telnet. Okay, so this file I will use to repeat or to replay. So this is a command, tcp replay, and then the interface, and then the some options here include looping, the force how many times, don't send flow status, and the name of the file, and okay, so this will gonna replay the file what's inside on this interface as if someone or some device has sent it, and let's see what will be the result. So coming here, if the TCP replay is not available, it will tell us unrecognized command. So fortunately the TCP replay is there. So if you cannot find TCP replay, or your Linux installation return unknown or a command, you can go to our Google is our companion always. So we can come here, write the Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7.9 our version, and then TCP replay. Here I selected the first option. Here you can come see the how to download and how to install it. It's simple steps. Okay, so I already downloaded. I already make the command, so I should expect something to come here. As you can see here, the flow interface. You can see it's the ENS33, and here we have some flows coming, and you can see the source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port. So it's very useful to replay flows as well. So I will repeat the command again so we can see the effect together. So I selected the live stream, this option, the first option. So you can see here the flows, how it's coming into, and how the QRadar is able to recognize the application inside the flow, tell you, for example, this is a remote access, this terminal services, because the destination port I'm expecting to be something, where is the destination port? Yeah, it's 3389. So this is similar to the remote desktop. When you make a remote desktop, the port is 3389. So sometimes the QRadar is able to recognize the traffic based on the port. Sometimes on some intelligence it has to that can dig into the flow and get some more information about the application. This is how, guys, you can replay logs. We come across two methods for playing logs. First method, I repeat again, it's the just making a for loop if you want to replay the log for multiple iterations. So the for loop, and I'll just highlight here the for loop. These are the keywords for the for loop, and same thing we do here. This is the for loop. Okay, and you can see the done at the end, and inside we have the echo. Echo is just to tell the system to echo this. So I can, this is the log itself, this is the log itself, and this is the netcat 514. So style token, this is netcat. So actually here it was multiple logs. I'm sending 1, 2, 3 4 5. See how many echo? 1 2 3 4 5 6, like 6 logs together. I'm sending them in one line under the for loop. So actually this 6 logs will be repeated 100 times, so like 600 logs will be replayed to the QRadar. And as we said, the QRadar needs at least like 20-30 logs to recognize. In our first example, it was able to recognize the log as some Linux server authentication failure, but for the second log it wasn't able to recognize because it hasn't the parser for this one. And in the coming lessons we will know about how to create your custom parser. In the this is the first method for playing logs. Second method, we know about the log run Perl script inside the QRadar. It's coming with your installation, and you can create any file, any text file, and put whatever logs you have inside it, and then replay or run the command. I can get the command from here and put it for you guys. So this is a command that we put together. So just the path for the script, and then the destination, my appliance, and then the file. So this file actually this will be the file, and the content of the file will be these 2 lines. You can put whatever. This is more reliable method because you could just get files from your environment log files. So it's easy to get these log files and then replay them inside QRadar. For sure, this replay or this simulation that we are doing, you should do it in like a development or test bed, not in your production. Okay. And finally, we knew about the flows. We learned about the flows, how to add your network interface of the appliance as a flow source. And actually you don't need this step, is not necessary. I already skipped, and it works to enable promiscuous mode for your appliance. This is not required. And then you upload any bcap file and then run the TCP replay command. As I said, guys, I will put this in the comments of this lesson, so you can get this text format of these commands, and you can try it yourself in your lab. So thanks for watching, and see you in next video.